Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to House of Footy. It's your boy Ray, and tonight I've got Mac with me. Welcome back.
Good evening.
Gio is unfortunately not here with us today. He's actually on his way to Manchester to protest Eric Ten Hag's, stay at Man U. But don't worry, we'll have Gio back soon. The Euros starts in 2 days. 24 nations will make their claim, and only one team will be European champions in a month's time. So today, of course, we'll be predicting who will win it all. Before we get into it, don't forget to follow us on our social media, both on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle is at @houseof_footy. Also, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to us. We are on both Spotify and YouTube. And lastly, feel free to get in touch with us via email. We love hearing from you guys, and we want you guys getting involved. Our email is houseoffooty@hotmail.com. All right, so what we have on the screen today is essentially just the Euro 2024 simulator. We're going to go through each group, and then Mac and I will kind of agree, disagree, bant on how we see each group play out, and of course, consequently, the knockout stages following that. But let's, start from Group A. Pretty straightforward, Mac. Germany, the host nation, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland make Group A. I guess, is there any team from this group that kind of stands out to you? We may not cover each team individually. Of course, we want to keep things kind of to a manageable time period, but let's hear from you, Mac. Any team from here that stands out to you?
So I think this is one of the clear-cut groups where we don't have to spend too much time on. The real discussion is who's going to finish in the second, third slot in these groups. First, I think with the shadow of a doubt, I think Germany, they're one of the team favorites, the host nation. I think if we're going in terms of who are one of the favorites, I think for them, they are in that tier, up with the Frances, with the Englands. I think they're in that conversation without a shadow of a doubt. So I think just to be able to make sure that we start off there, let's clear up. Germany's going to top this group. Do you disagree with that?
I do not disagree with that.
Okay, so now the question is, who comes second? For me, it's a little bit of like head versus heart. As you may know, I am Scottish. I would like to see the Scots do well. I think that they have a decent team. I think the interesting part for them, where over the last 7 international games, they have not picked up a single win, but they've faced very stiff competition in preparation for this competition. I think the interesting part will be, I think their striker is going to be missing the tournament, Dykes, so he'll be out. But their main talisman, which is very interesting to say, is going to be Scott McTominay. How aggressive can he get into the box? How well he plays, I think, is going to be a great bellwether for them in this tournament. However, if you would ask me if I were to pick a second place team, I know it might be a surprise to you. I'm going to go with Hungary. They're undefeated through qualification. Ooh. They play mostly through Szoboszlai, even though he plays more of as a striker, off striker in some cases. When he plays for his international team, a lot of the team feel through him. And with how well they played throughout qualification, if we just merit off recent results, I think that they're the most informed team outside of the Germany squad. So for me, they would be my second place team, and because my heart is going a little bit towards Scotland, I might go them. And then, unfortunately, that puts the Swiss last. What about you? Is there maybe an individual player, team that stands out to you from outside of Germany, who we may discuss more later on as we go to break down individual teams?
Yeah, no, I will. You mentioned Scotland and Hungary already. I guess I'll quickly mention Switzerland. They do have I would say, experienced team. And, of course, you have Granit Xhaka. You have likely... the likes of Xherdan Shaqiri. You also have a goalie in Jan Sommer who's played quite well over the years in the international stages, and so you have what you can expect from them. The question is, do they have that sort of? Is Shaqiri now still your best player going forward? Will he be the one getting you goals? Not necessarily. I don't necessarily think. They have no Okafor, and I believe Breel Embolo, who will likely play some minutes as well, but nothing stands out for me for Switzerland. So for me, I do agree it's likely going to be between Switzerland and Scotland to be third and fourth. So I think we can kind of narrow down Hungary as second. I'm liking Scotland's chances, though. Scott McTominay, of course, and a host of Premier League players, so we watch a lot of them week in, week out. I just think they have more of a without their main striker that you just mentioned, they do have quality in around that squad. So I would think just edging them out, even though they may not have as much experience as Switzerland. In these situations, I think you definitely have to count out the quality that Scotland do bring, and then I know that they're going to want to try to make it as far as possible in this competition. And I'm not saying Switzerland won't, but I think that might take them over the edge. And of course, Lord Scott McTominay is going to be the main guy there. So let's go with that. I think what we have on the board right now: Germany, Hungary, Scotland, and Switzerland checks out for me. So if I'm good with that, Mac, let's move on to Group B, which is made up by Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania. I'll, again, toss it to you first. I'll let you pick out a team or nation that really stands out to you, and we'll cook from there.
I'm going to go on the reverse side, just like it was for Germany's clear is going to be top of this group. I think there's two teams across all 6 of these groups that are the obvious last place team on the other side, and unfortunately Albania for me fits into that slot. So I think that's the easiest pick of this litter on my end. And in just terms, I don't see the quality up front. I don't see them really be able to play well defensively. Could they be similar to, let's say, like a Saudi Arabia from the World Cup, or a team like that can surprise and in a one-off situation? Absolutely, any team at this tournament can do that. But just looking at the individual quality, I don't think they have it. And I would be surprised if they pick up really any points across any of these games. Same with, just like I said, in regards to Georgia in their respective group in Group F. So for me, they're clearly last place. So the question then on the other side for me is, which of these teams is there a clear favorite to finish top? And I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum, and that would be Spain for me. I think in terms of, I understand it might be a little bit unusual for, let's say, a 2-time winner. I think they were in back, I think it's 08 and 12 in the most recent round of games.
That's right.
In the Euro competition, they made it all the way to the semifinals. It's weird to put them as a dark horse, but I don't put them in the inner circle of favorites. But I think they're just outside of that. And when you're looking at a midfield 3, in all likelihood of a Dani Olmo, Pedri with Rodri, that might be one of the more complete in terms of everybody understands their role of what they want to accomplish in those positions. I'm worried about the goals. I'm 32-year-old. I think it's Morata as their captain. I'm a little bit questionable with that, but he does have quality. And we're talking about a transitional team in terms of age groups with Lamine Yamal on the right-hand side. I think he's 17 now, in all likelihood starting. So again, they're a very interesting team. They have great quality, but I think they're a little bit unproven in some key areas of the pitch. So for me, they are the favorite of this group and should finish first. But I still don't think they're in that conversation as, okay, they should be in the favorites to win the whole tournament. What are your thoughts maybe about either of those teams, or what are your thoughts in regards to maybe Croatia or Italy?
No, you pointed out Albania. I definitely agree with you there. Spain, just because of the overall quality in that side, I do lean them finishing first, very, very by small margins. I think just the fact that they have a deep squad compared to Croatia and Italy, a deeper squad, I would say, they edge it out for me. The interesting part for me is, and I guess the direct comparison for Spain, who are, like you said, kind of in a transitional period. You could argue Italy are the same. Croatia are not really. They have ever-present players that you, of course, will see time and time again in these international stages. Luka Modric, of course, Brozovic, and Kovacic make up that midfield 3 that probably as good as any, if not the best midfield 3 or at least the most experienced midfield 3 in the tournament. So that really makes it case for itself. For me, I would say Croatia and Spain are kind of neck and neck in the sense that it's between them two to make it out as first placed. But I do agree with you, just the quality for that Spain have overall, and that experience of them recent winners and going far in this tournament, that just edges them for me. My personal, maybe selfishly, what I want to see is Lamine Yamal pick up a knock in training before the tournament starts, so that he can rest and eventually make his way to Liverpool when Mohamed Salah leaves. I'll be okay with that, and Spain, will have enough to make it through. But no, that I think it's going to be Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams both of them respectively, the wingers likely to start for Spain, they're going to have big tournaments, and those are players to watch out for. So that edges them as the first place team. Croatia, then, like I mentioned, I see them as second because Italy, kind of like Spain, are in a transitional period as well. You don't really know what to expect from them in terms of they didn't make it to the World Cup, right? Last time out, they did win the Euro, so they are actually the holders, but you can't really tell what you can expect from this team. So that's how I have it, Matt. Croatia as second, Italy as third, with Albania as last place team. Do you have any word on those two nations that we have in the middle of that group there?
I am actually worried about Croatia. I think I do agree with you just based off quality. I think it's actually worst case scenario for Croatia to play Spain first. I think they would have had preference for them to play them last and pick up points early in the tournament, because you're talking about a midfield three of Modric, Brozovic, and Kovacic, all above the age of 30, playing full 90 minutes in hot weather. I'm very worried about how long that they'll be able to last through the course of this game. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. And through the stretch of games, if they'll be able to survive. So after playing full 90 minutes against Spain, are they able to immediately go around a couple days later and play full 90 minutes against an Italian team and have the presence to be able to break them down? I think that's the question for me, and I think that is the match of this group. And I'm a little bit worried actually where those two teams might be in a position where they might sit both at 3 points potentially, or 4 points. One of the two teams at 4 points, with the other one maybe at 3 points. And because they're so competitive between each other, they actually push themselves out of the conversation of finishing within the 6 teams that actually go through the next round, even though they finish as third place. So I think it's a little bit interesting there. I'll agree with you and ask you as to what you want there, because I think if you just go player by player, they do have the quality. I just think the lineup of fixtures in order that they're playing might make it more difficult than we're initially anticipating. So let's go with Spain, Croatia, Italy, then Albania. Fair to say?
Yep, yeah, I'm good with that. And yeah, that's actually, looking at this fixtures now, that is going to be an interesting run, and we'll definitely see what they're made out of after that run of games for them. So let's move on to Group C then, Mac. I'm going to take the lead here. Of course, this group includes, I think that's Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, and England. And it's gonna be an easy call here. Of course, we have Denmark finishing. I'm kidding. England's gonna finish top of the group there. And for me, sadly, it's likely going to be Slovenia as the 4th place team. For me, it's a toss-up between Denmark and Serbia in the middle of the group there. We know what England can bring, and definitely tournament favorites there. Should expect them to finish first. Denmark, even with, I guess you could liken them to Switzerland, a team that's very experienced in international stages. They definitely have enough to make it out of this group, I think. Serbia do have individual players that kind of stand out to me as well, so that's going to be interesting. Their attackers with, I believe, Mitrovic, and the other striker. The other striker just
It's Vlahovic.
Yes, the Juventus Vlahovic. The quality up front just speaks for itself. So it's a toss-up for them between these two, but that's how I see it there, Mac. What about you?
England and Slovenia, I think 1-4, pretty clear. I actually lean much more heavily in regards to the Danish versus Serbia. I think Serbia, for me, is where they're, in terms of the pitch balance, it's a little bit too far separate in terms of the quality on either side. Where you have Mitrovic, Vlahovic, Tadic, you have Milinkovic-Savic, all on, I would argue, on the older side, but really quality players on their day. But if you're looking at who will play on the defensive end for Serbia, it's really kind of a who's. The most recognized player, I think, is Pavlovic. And again, that's not the great quality there. So I think they're going to score, but I think they're going to concede too many. Where I think the Danish, they have better pitch balance across of who's playing where. I think we might have a very good tournament from Højlund with a little bit pressure off on him coming into a Danish team where he's not the leader. He's not even the kind of one of the bigger players for them, I would argue. And you have players like Højbjerg, Eriksson, Christensen, Vestergaard, all really with Schmeichel, with cup experience, and the balance across the pitch is going to be very interesting. So I lean much heavily towards Danish, where I think it'll be England, Denmark, Serbia, and then Slovenia. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, Blake, I'm on board with that. That checks out with what I mentioned earlier. So let's move on from this group then to Group D. Again, I'll sort of take a lead on this one now. Netherlands, Austria, France, Poland. Oof. Of course, we have tournament favorites along with England, France in this group, and that really puts us in an easy situation. They will likely finish first. It's, for me, going to be between Netherlands and Austria to finish second and third. Poland, unfortunately, I just don't see them making it out of this group just because of the strength from the other teams, but also Poland, in recent memory, haven't done that well in international tournaments, so that makes it easy for me. I think the Netherlands do have that quality and experience over Austria, though. Austria could be interesting with sort of a new style of play that former Manchester United manager Ralf Rangnick has been implementing. But it kind of wraps there. France, Netherlands, very strong, very experienced squads. Austria and Poland in third and fourth. Do you disagree with sort of how I laid that out, Mac?
No, not whatsoever. I think Austria, again, France clear, done. Poland for me clear last. I think Austria are one of the interesting teams where I think they actually could tie Netherlands, finish on 4 points, just have not a strong enough goal difference in comparison to Netherlands, and why Netherlands might eke ahead, where I wouldn't be surprised if that tie actually finishes a tie. And because Netherlands, I think, a little bit clearer up front, where you have Gapco, you have Depay, you have Xavi Simons, you have a quality enough attacking force to score enough goals against Poland to push yourself over the top, where Austria might just eke out that result against the Polish. So that's why I have it laid out that way. And I completely agree with you across the field in terms of that assessment. So I think that's a pretty easy group for me.
Okay, so let's move on to Group E. Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine. I'll let you take the reins on this one, Mac. How do you see this group playing out?
Belgium lucked out. I think in terms of across the pitch, what is the weakest group with the weakest teams? I think this is the one. And I think Belgium, if they were actually put up against any of the teams across any of the other groups to finish top, they would be the worst top place team. But because of that, of their group, of where they kind of lucked out, I think this should be an easy ride for them to be able to finish top of the group. You do not have Thibaut Courtois come to the tournament, so there's been a lot of talk, especially in Eden Hazard, of course, in retirement, now just playing in like the Soccer 8 tournament, stuff like that, still showboating there. Maybe the vibe, the camaraderie across the team with those two players gone, because there have been, let's say, a little bit of discontent from both those players across the other Belgium teammates in previous tournaments. Maybe that might be a better factor, where maybe they don't have the quality, but maybe they have more of a semblance of a team in order to perform better. And given the group that they're in, maybe they can build that quality throughout the tournament and show out a little bit more. And arguably, you still have, on his day, the best midfielder in the world playing for their team with Kevin De Bruyne. So for me, Belgium clearly are first place. And then secondarily, after that, I think it's kind of a who's who across the other three. I think realistically, outside of the Albania and Georgia, you're probably looking at, in my opinion, three of the worst teams in the tournament in a lot of ways. So who's who do I really pick out, and who's really fortunate to be able to play them in any of these teams in the next round? For me, I maybe it's a little bit biased on my end, but I think I'm going to lean more so Ukraine, because just like I gave the idea of what I think of the Danish team, I think Ukraine and how they're spread out across the pitch are very similar to that, where they have a lot of balance. I know that we haven't seen the greatest of Mudryk thus far in his time at Chelsea, but for Ukraine, he generally does show out. Zinchenko plays in his preferred position in midfield. So I think you have across the pitch quality players that are able to come out and show out. I think a player to watch, and I think might be interesting, and is the next Mudryk. From what at least seeing a lot of videos coming out, is Sudokov. Small little Ukrainian midfielder, similar, going to play alongside Zinchenko, wants to be able to get on the ball, is just going to show in the pivot a lot, and he's going to be, in my opinion, one of their creative players going forward, and would help potentially get Mudryk on the ball into the final third in transitional moments, which they will probably be most successful at against the Slovakia, against the Romania. And I think that would be their separation of how they're able to get through, is where I do see quality sometimes in the final third to score at least a couple of goals. But of course, nowhere near enough to be able to touch Belgium. That's, again, my first look at this group. What about you?
Yeah. Well, just on that last note, I think this is going to be Mykhailo Mudryk's tournament. He's going to have at least 3 goals, and he's going to make a name for himself, even though he's already made that big money move. This is his tournament. But that being said, that's only going to be enough to bring them to second. Belgium will finish first. And then it looks like it's going to be Slovakia and Romania to finish third and fourth in that group. I just think it's a toss-up between those two teams, but Slovakia do have a couple more, I guess, some tournament experience as well, more recently, and just quality, I think, over the Romania side and this time out. So I just have them slightly edging Romania. Could be a toss-up between them, but yeah, I agree. Belgium and Ukraine should be topping that group and making it past that stage. Moving on to Group F, then another interesting group. Can't really, other than of course Portugal finishing first, which you've kind of already selected there. Can't really know what to expect from Turkey and Czech Republic alongside Georgia. Well, you already mentioned that Georgia will likely finish last, so we can kind of mark that out. For me, though, it's between Turkey, Czech Republic, and who has the more settled squad. For me, I lean Turkey with, of course, your previous tournaments, dark horses, and a lot of hype around this team. With, of course, you have the likes of Çalhanoğlu, who's still making things tick in that squad. You also have Arda Güler, who hasn't featured for Madrid as much this season, but we expect big things from him. And you still have a bunch of other players there. So I lean them to finish second over the Czech Republic in that sense. So that's pretty much how I see that group. It still could be a toss-up between Turkey and Czech Republic, but I just have Turkey edging it out with some quality players overall. So if you have, do you have any points about this group, Mac?
No, I completely agree with what you said. 100%. I think Turkey have a little bit more quality. The interesting part is Arda Güler. He's one of the more hype players going into the tournament, given a young starlet coming up and what he could potentially bring. There's been a lot of talk, is Ibi going to start, because there have been no injuries across their team, and more of Demiral and Ayan have been generally starting in the position where Arda Güler would generally play. So is he going to start? I think that's going to be the question. For me, I would say he is, just because you want to be able to get a little bit more excitement out front in the final third, and I think they have the quality to do so. Even though I shat on Georgia earlier, I want to take it back just for a quick second here. Because if I would see a moment of this tournament I can envision happening, if we go, let's say it's Georgia versus Portugal or Georgia versus Turkey, and it's 0-0, and after the 70th minute, a player like Kvaratskhelia just playing as a striker in a transitional moment can be one of those moments of the tournament where there might be a surprise team having their big break and making it to a knockout round that no one anticipated, because it's a simple game plan. You put 11 players behind the ball, and in the final couple of minutes, can Kvaratskhelia be able to create something for us? It's as simple as that. It's clear cut as that. It's very simple football. And can they survive long enough to get those moments? I don't think so. But I can see a future where there is a multiverse out there where that could happen. And that will happen. So I'm very excited to see if that's something that can come to fruition, and they be one of the upsets of the tournament, or create one of those game moments, and maybe we'll get similar to what I always dream of, is the Gary Neville going, oh, for Fernando Torres, right? We may get a moment like that. So very excited to see how this comes out, but I do agree with you. how these 4 teams will shuffle out, which we already have up. So now it goes to the third place rankings. This is very interesting because you have to take into account which teams can theoretically for you get 4 points, because it's either going to be realistically a 4 points or 3 points. At least picking up a win and having a goal difference is you're going to be able to come out, because 4 of the 6 third place teams go on to the knockout rounds. Out of Scotland, Italy, Serbia, Austria, Slovakia, and Czech Republic, is there any teams that you think, okay, they can get 4 points or even 3 points with goal difference that shouts out to you first from these teams? And I'm just going to scroll up just a little bit so we can all see.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
for me, I think Italy, they have enough talent to pick up a tie against Spain and or Croatia. And I think they do beat Albania on their day. I think as well, Scotland have that in them to get a win at Switzerland against Switzerland, and then get a tie maybe against Germany, first game of the tournament, if Germany's not firing on all cylinders. So I have those 2 nations there. With the group with the Austria group, I kind of like the Austria team because how the fact that they have Poland in their group, so that's a guaranteed 3 points. The question is, will they get a tie against France and or Netherlands? So for me, that's the tougher part there. It's a toss-up. I do like Serbia. Serbia, I think, can get a win against Slovakia and then maybe tie Denmark. Those are the teams that kind of stand out to me. Do you have anyone there?
My question for you is just Czech Republic. I think they beat Georgia, right? So
Right.
That's 3 points there. That's for me. I think they have an easier path in comparison to Serbia versus Slovenia. That's my question. So I agree with you in terms of Italy, Scotland, Austria. I think those 3. I think I'm pretty happy about Scotland. Maybe a little biased. Switzerland could be a threat, but it is what it is. I'll be honest with you there. So the question for me is between either Serbia or Czech Republic to finish with that. Who's going to score more goals? Because I think it might be easier where Czech Republic might be able to build up a better goal difference against Georgia versus Serbia against Slovenia. And if neither team picks up a tie in the other result, then it's just down to goal difference. So that's my rationale for Czech Republic. I'm good with either one, but what are your thoughts there? So I think because we have to pick, unless we want to push out Scotland and just do Serbia and Czech Republic, I think that's the only other way I might go about it, because there could be a situation where Scotland ties Switzerland and it's moot point. So I think that's also potentially possible. What are your thoughts on that?
I do like your shout in terms of Czech Republic. I do see them having a better time against Georgia compared to Serbia, who might, you just never know against Slovenia. Could we see a Jan Oblak amazing game against Serbia and they just don't end up scoring? That could happen. So I do like the Czech Republic shout that you have there, and I wouldn't mind having them as the third place team to go through.
Sounds good. No, you do not want to get a free trial. Leave me alone. No. Offer. Okay.
All right.
Close this. Close this.
Well, we can talk through it and go from there. The first, I guess, round of 16 matchup will be Germany-Denmark. I'm gonna make the decision here, Mac. It's gonna be Germany that goes through. Home advantage for them. I do like the chances, so I'll just make a note on our doc here that we like them to go through. What about the second match, Hungary-Croatia, Mac? What do you think there?
Let me just take a look, because should I just reload this maybe? Let's see, let's show. No, it's still showing here. Oh, come on. It's not, is it, do you see this where?
Yeah, no, it's not letting us go through, but I can make the notes here, and we can see how that plays out.
No, I agree with you in terms of Germany. Well, let's go through this. Germany should win in terms of the round of 16 match, I think, and then I'll go Croatia over Hungary. in my opinion.
Yeah.
Let me just go back and see if I can reload it. Just one moment.
Sure.
I think
Yep.
that just might be the easier way to go about it.
Yeah, I don't see it. Hungary, I think, do finish second in that group, but Croatia, I think, just that experience is gonna take them over the edge, and so it's Germany, Croatia for the first two nations going through. I'm definitely not upset at that. I think the third one will probably be. I think it was Spain that we had there.
It's Spain versus Austria. I think we'll agree in regards to Spain in terms of what they'll be able to do.
Yeah, Spain, Austria. I think it will just be. I think we had Austria as one of the third place teams that we expect to go through just based on the how they get a result in their group. So I do lean Spain in this one, and then I mean we kind of tournament favorites. Mac England against Czech Republic. I think it's fair to say we have England there to go through for that one. Let's move on to a spicy one. It's Portugal, Italy. Now here, Mac. Two very accomplished nations, I would say, in this tournament. What do you think there, Portugal versus Italy?
Lean Portugal. I think for me, they're again one of the favorites to be able to go through. I'd be surprised if they don't be able to come out and be able to beat an Italian squad. Even though we've seen this matchup more recently and it's been, let's say, a little bit more even in some ways. Personally, I heavily lean Portugal just in terms of the quality they have, and I think in terms of their 11, for me, they're one of in the circle of who I think potentially could win the tournament. So I actually heavily lean Portugal in this matchup, just given what they're able to do offensively, defensively, through the midfield. They're one of the more deeper teams in this tournament, where even if they do sustain a couple of injuries, you're going to have great quality to be able to come on and to be able to help support the team. So for me, I very much lean Portugal in that matchup.
Yep, I agree there. Portugal, like you said, that is a deep squad. I think they, behind France, I think have the deepest squad in terms of just quality overall. Whether they come through together and actually play well, that's another thing. But just player by player, I think they do have the most depth after France. So I do take them in that matchup as well. The Netherlands against Ukraine, I would side towards the Netherlands for this matchup. Pretty standard. Ukraine, I think, will do well to make it out of that group as a second place team, but Netherlands just will have enough quality to keep them out and then eventually get a goal themselves. On the other end, Belgium, Scotland, Mac. This one, I'll have to ask you. What are your thoughts there?
It's Belgium. I think it's clearly Belgium there. I think I think for this round of fixtures, there's clear favorites across the board for me, and I think Belgium is one of them, without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay. And then lastly, France, Turkey, tournament favorites again.
Yes,
I think
France.
We lean France. So that means I'll have to just take a look to see what that looks like for our
7 versus 39 that would be Germany versus Spain.
Germany versus Spain. Whew, that's a tough one.
For me, I would go Germany. I think I think Spain in that individual matchup, I think it's going to be tough for them to be able to control the tempo of the game as much as they want. And in transitional moments with even a Serge Gnabry, a Leroy Sané, Jamal Musiala, they're going to have enough to be able to create against that Spanish defense, which I think is probably the weakest part of the pitch, as well as I don't necessarily think Morata is going to have a great day against a defensive team like Germany, who still have great quality with Rudiger being able to play there. So I very much question Spain being able to get out of this, which is why, and at home, I think you got to lean Germany there for me.
At home, yeah, that's a great shout. Yeah, I would side with Germany as well for this one. Spain could be, if they have a great day, they could take that spot as well. But Germany, I think 7 out of 10 times would be likely winners in this matchup.
And that means it's Portugal versus Netherlands would be the next matchup. 41 versus 47.
Yeah, that is another big matchup, but just like I just mentioned, Portugal. I think behind France and England, Portugal probably one of the other tournament favorites. If you have tiers, um, that kind of edges it out. I think Portugal go through. Unfortunately, I think they just have more offensively to their game than the Netherlands, and so I would lean towards Portugal there.
Absolutely. For me, I think Portugal. I don't think Netherlands are going to be able to play at the same level with tempo on the offensive end as what this Portugal team can do. I think the only I would argue is necessarily maybe weak spot is can in defensive moments with a back four of Cancelo, Pepe, Ruben Neves, and Nuno Mendes. I think if you look at those names individually, I would love to have any of those players in the team. But that mixture for me, I have a little bit of questions about, especially a Cancelo-Pepe duo on either side, given Pepe's age. Cancelo his weakness defensively. I question that. Maybe Netherlands could have potentially exploited that in a matchup, but the quality is heavily favored there for Portugal. So I completely agree. Portugal will go through. So that leaves match 43 versus 44, which would be Belgium versus France.
Yeah, that's going to be, wow. The quarters, the way we have it, the quarters are going to be bangers. And yeah, it's going to, I think maybe in any other given year, it could be a toss up. But the fact that Belgium just, I don't think, have it now with losing a couple of their talismans, I think it will be better in the group stages. But when it counts in the knockout stages, it's going to have to be, they're going to have to rely on their best players. And at this point, Kevin De Bruyne, he hasn't shown it thus far this season, or season long, I would say. So I think France has to be the favorite to come out of this one. And then lastly, England against Croatia. I think this is the last matchup there. Mac, a word on that one?
Easily England. I think it's easily England there again. I think through the quarters, the only one that's any question for me is Hungary versus Croatia. I think that one could go either way. So that would be the only toss-up if we were to have this breakdown potentially, and how it would work out. What that does leave, though, is for me, what I've always come down back to when I'm looking at this breakdown of this tournament is where I always have the exact same semifinals. The same semifinals of this Germany versus Portugal and France versus England. And that's what we'll have. So for me, it's always comes down to that, no matter what, in terms of who will eventually face who in different ways. I think that's fair. But for me, it's pretty clear.
Okay, well then let's talk about it. Germany, Portugal. We already discussed the strength that Portugal have. I think with Germany, it's that France and England are the top tier in terms of favorites, and then there's Germany and Portugal right below them. I do think that Portugal just have that quality, so I would edge them out over Germany, even though they have home advantage. Germany, that is. Portugal will be my first finalist here. For France, England, Mac, this might not be a popular opinion with you, but I think if we look at it in terms of just what happened, I think it was in the World Cup, and also just in terms of the fact that France have a very, very deep squad. I'm going to lean a little bit towards France in this semifinal matchup, but feel free to persuade me here, Mac. What do you think?
I want to. I really want to. Across actually both those teams. I think Germany, the home field, I don't think, I question, and this is the tough part for me with Portugal. I love almost, if you just partition off individually any of those players, I would love to have them on my team. But they, especially even in the World Cup, the issue is playing as a cohesive unit and understanding roles and kind of staying and understanding, what we need to be able to play as 11 versus 11 individuals. That's been their struggle part for me in previous tournaments. So in that matchup against Germany, if they get that far, I think that's going to be very, very tough. I do agree they have better quality than Germany player for player, but I think the home field advantage might go. So for me, this is a proverbial coin toss in that matchup. So for you, either which way, I would have been happy which way you would go. So I'm completely comfortable taking Portugal to be able to go through. In regards to the France-England, again, I want to convince you. I want to be able to believe that England are going to win. I wholeheartedly believe, that I want to convince you that way. If I look at it and can take my bias out of it, France, they're able to sustain injuries at a much better level. They have more flexibility. I think defensively, England are a little bit suspect. Right now, we have Trent starting in midfield alongside Declan Rice. That seems to be going into the tournament, the defensive midfield duo, which I think that's okay. But a midfield four, if it's a Kyle Walker, John Stones, who's been oft injured, if he picks up an injury throughout the tournament, I think in this matchup, they're cooked. So that's what leans me towards France, because even if there's injuries across the board, they'll be comfortably defined. And I think their backup players can start for a lot of these other teams. For example, I think you initially, when you pitched this idea in terms of, okay, let's do this for the podcast, I'm watching a video of it, is where Saliba probably won't start for France, but he would be England's best center back. It's as simple as that, right? There's levels to this, and France has different gears and levels and options. So for me, I would lean France. I want England to win, but I would lean France.
Yeah. It is a toss-up. It could be very close, and it could be a great day for England, or it could be a great day for France, and that kind of what separates them. Though, yeah, just the fact that France have that in that experience, and having come so close to winning the World Cup last time out, I think they're gonna want to put that. They're gonna use that as a fuel to hopefully win this tournament. And of course, we already know what that means with the settled France squad. So yeah, it's gonna be. It looks like then Portugal versus France in the final, actually a rematch of the 2016 Euros.
Just one moment before we get on. The only question I have for France, I know, and this is a little bit weird, and it's going to be a weird take, and I know you know where I'm going to go with this, and you're going to think I'm being a little bit weird about this. Does Giroud still have it? Because he's a very interesting player for this France team, where he does a lot of the donkey work that allows Mbappe to play out the wing. And when Mbappe's ever played down the middle, we've had questions. And Marcus Thuram, I think we can all agree, is probably a better individual player than Giroud right now. But what Giroud is able to do with Mbappe is what's been the separator. And in that matchup against England, going to semifinals, he's the one that actually got them the game-winning goal. And he's 37. Does he still have it? I think is going to be a big factor. He's in the squad. He's going to be part of the tournament. But I think he might be the separator between these two teams, because otherwise you're probably going to see I would argue, just really a transitional or a game-breaking moment from Mbappe to break down an England squad, versus having a player like Giroud as kind of just that donkey in the box to be able to create a little bit of havoc. So yeah, sorry, but continuing on what you're saying in regards to France versus Portugal, I apologize.
That's a great shout. I feel like they have just enough quality, and Thuram has been has had a great season winning the Serie A with Inter Milan, being sort of that sidekick to Lautaro Martinez. So I don't think that is a weakness in his game. We'll see how Deschamps decides to play that out. But like I mentioned, Portugal versus France, very much like the Champions League final, where we saw, I think it was Bayern versus Real in one side of the semifinals for the Champions League. We also had it was PSG against Borussia Dortmund. We knew that the team coming out of that side would likely be losers. Unfortunately, no disrespect to Portugal, I think likely for them that is the case as well. And I would lean towards France. Again, same thing that I mentioned already, France tournament favorites. I'm leaning towards them winning the whole thing. Anything different from you in this final, Mac?
No, absolutely not. France are the favorite of the tournament. I think that's clear. I think that's obvious. If we were to tear it out, for me, it's France in their own tier. They're by themselves in the world of football, international football right now, without a question. Not just in Europe, but across the world. Then it's the tier afterwards, where the other teams, three semifinals for me, are in that tier with each other, where if you saw a matchup between Portugal and Germany, I think it's a toss-up. If you saw a matchup, let's say England finished second in the group and they actually flip over to the other end of the bracket against Germany or Portugal, I think, again, that's a toss-up between the two of them as well. So for me, it's France by themselves. They should win this. And then any of those other three teams potentially are either going to be the finalist or the best option to potentially break a France winning the Euros for me. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, guys, there you have it. We were able to, I think, agree on most things here. France kind of plays out as the winners for our prediction, but of course, let us know your thoughts on who you think will win it, and if we are missing anything in our prediction here. So this concludes our podcast for today. If you guys like what you heard, please like and subscribe to us on our social medias. That's at house of_footy. If you have any comments, suggestions, or general banter, get in touch with us via email as well, houseoffooty@hotmail.com. The next time you hear from us will be later next week when we review the first round of matches from the 2024 Euros. But until then, Mac, thank you for joining us.
No, fuck that whole thing. It's coming home. It's coming home, boys. Let's go. Let's go.
See you guys soon.